The media has been reporting on casualties for Ukraine and Russia in their war, but one expects each side to understate its casualties. When I came across dramatically different figures, I thought it was fake news. After learning that the figures are true, I must issue this warning to the UBI nations, that's United States, British, Commonwealth nations, and Israel, to avoid getting entangled in a war with Russia based on Bible prophecy. Hello, friends. This is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Now, BBC reported on December 8, 2024, that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky admitted that some 43,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed since Russia's full scale invasion began, with about 370,000 injured, though this figure included soldiers who had been hurt more than once, and some of the injuries were said to be minor. Zelensky also claimed that 198,000 Russian soldiers had been killed and a further 550,000 wounded. Zelensky's estimates of Russian losses are similar to those provided by senior Western officials, who estimate Russia has suffered around 800,000 casualties, both killed and injured. Russia has disputed those figures. In a statement, the Kremlin claimed that Ukrainian losses were many times higher than Russian losses. Then, from another source, I learned that Ukraine's losses are more than 1 million Ukrainian soldiers dead, while Russian losses are between 100,000 to 125,000 dead. These figures are so vastly different from what has been reported in the media that I thought this was fake news. However, my sources confirmed that these were the true figures. There is other evidence that these casualty figures are accurate. Business Insider recently reported that earlier this year, a Ukrainian service member told the Washington Post that the companies in his battalion were staffed at 35% of normal levels. The USA has been pressuring Ukraine to lower the draft age from 25 to 18 to address manpower shortages in the conflict. Zelensky rejected the suggestions and emphasized the need for military aid instead, meaning the most sophisticated weapons. Such a situation could have developed only if the Ukrainian soldiers' deaths were of the order of 1 million rather than the 43,000 admitted by Zelensky. Media is also reporting on equipment losses on both sides. In February 2024, International Institute for Strategic Studies, reporting on its assessment of Russian military equipment losses, stated, despite intense armored vehicle losses since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine about 2 years ago, there are few signs they will cause an end to the fighting anytime soon. The losses are estimated to include more than 3,000 armored fighting vehicles in the past year alone and close to 8,800 since February 2022. Despite losing hundreds of armored vehicles and artillery pieces per month on average, Russia has been able to keep its active inventory numbers stable. For 2023, we estimate that Russia was able to reactivate at least 1,180 to 1,280 main battle tanks and around 2,470 infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers from storage. On top of that, Moscow was able to manufacture new tanks and other armored vehicles, though precise numbers are difficult to glean even from satellite images. An in-depth assessment by IISS, that's the International Institute for Strategic Studies, last year showed equipment replenishments were roughly keeping pace with battlefield attrition. It is our assessment, therefore, that Russia will be able to sustain its assault on Ukraine at current attrition rates for another 2 to 3 years and maybe even longer. IISS's assessment of Ukrainian equipment is that overall we estimate that 2 years after the full scale invasion, the number of main battle tanks in service in the Ukrainian armed forces remain near pre war levels, while the number of armed personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles has increased thanks to Western support. However, Ukrainian efforts to field additional combat elements have outpaced equipment supply, leaving some units lacking equipment to be able to be even close to full strength. So, what are the implications of Russia's performance in its war with Ukraine when Ukraine does not have to worry about manufacturing its own weapons as Western sports replaces all its losses? I'm very happy that Russia was able to carry out its special operations in Ukraine and achieved its primary objective. I want to remind everyone about the real reason Russia carried out its operations. Nazi Zelensky had given permission to Germany to install nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons in Ukraine to be used against Russia. Reason? Germany was preparing to fulfill Bible prophecy in Revelation 9 verses 1 to 6, which state, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth," which indicates weapons delivery systems, perhaps drones or helicopters. "And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God on their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them." This indicates that these are chemical and or biological weapons which cause torment, pain, and suffering but don't kill humans. Now, German masqueraders and their allies have controlled the US government continuously since January 2009. They have controlled the government in the United Kingdom since Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, and even for some years before that. They also appear to be in control of the government in France. That's why the USA, UK, and France have supplied all the weapons to Ukraine. Germany has spent very little to support Ukraine, though the war was instigated in pursuit of its agenda of ruling the world, which means defeating UBI nations first. German masqueraders in USA, Britain, and France know that Germany instigated this war. Yet they supported Ukraine and imposed punishing sanctions on Russia. Germany knows that German masqueraders supplying all the weapons to Ukraine would drive a wedge between Russia and the UBI nations. As long as the West supplied weapons to Ukraine with range that restricted Ukrainian attacks only to Ukrainian territory held by Russia, it exercised restraint by not getting it into confrontation with UBI nations. But the Biden administration escalated the situation in November 2024 by giving permission to Ukraine to use American weapons to strike deeper into Russian territory, hundreds of miles from the border. Incoming President Trump recently stated that this was a stupid decision and he might reverse it when he takes office. He also plans to bring a swift end to the conflict when he takes office, though he has now admitted that it is going to be difficult. ABC News in the United States reported that the Pentagon stated that US intelligence predicts that Russia could again launch its lethal new intermediate range ballistic missile against Ukraine soon, which it had deployed for the first time in November, a few days after Biden gave permission to Ukraine to use US weapons deeper into Russia. President Putin warned the West that Russia's next use could be against Ukraine's NATO allies who gave permission to Ukraine to use their longer range missiles to strike inside Russia. There is no mistaking that threat. He meant the United States. Russia's military performance in Ukraine, as evidenced by the casualty figures, now clearly points to how bad the Biden administration decision was. Was the masquerader-led US government's goal in allowing Ukraine to launch missiles deeper inside Russian territory to provoke Russia into a war with the UBI nations? Seeing how stupid the decision looks, to use Trump's words, it evokes strong suspicion. Our countries should not be trifling with Russia. Russia has demonstrated its resilience, responsiveness, and capabilities in conventional warfare by decimating Ukraine's young adult male population between the ages of 25 and 35 capable of going to war. UBI nations should harshly deal with political or military leaders. By that I mean primarily German masqueraders who try to draw the USA into any kind of conflict with Russia, especially due to current geopolitical and military realities. Immediately after World War II and throughout the Cold War, Russia was a real threat to UBI nations in the West, as its goal was to bring the world under communism. But the situation has changed since the Cold War ended after the dissolution of the USSR, thus the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, on December 25, 1991. Today, Russia does not present any danger to the United States, British Commonwealth nations, and northwestern Europe, occupied by the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. What happens to Germany is not our concern any longer, as they present a deadly danger to our nations. Russia has witnessed in the instigation of the war with Ukraine and much of the rest of humanity. UBI nations should know that Russia is not our enemy and will not be our enemy till a few decades after the return of Jesus Christ to earth. I will explain that from Bible prophecy. At present, I would consider Russia as an ally in the sense that it will not join up with our enemies to attack us unless we provoke them. That's why I want to caution our leadership. German masqueraders among us, like the current administration, take their instructions from Germany in the sense that they are all Germans and work for the common goal of taking over our lands for themselves by exterminating us. Germany's modus operandi has been to induce other nations to fight each other so that they can then walk in and conquer the survivors. In pursuit of that goal, Germany has been trying to induce Russia and UBI nations to go to war with each other so that they can see our weapons capabilities and how we will prosecute war and then watch as we destroy each other. There is no earthly reason for us now to war with Russia, and even less so after Russia has demonstrated its capabilities in prosecuting a conventional war. And we certainly don't want to test Russia's or anyone else's nuclear weapons capabilities. That's why I would consider any political or military leader in UBI nations that provoked Russia to take military action against us as a traitor. Briefly, this is the sequence of end time events as provided by Bible prophecy. These are milestone events. Nations may take some actions and start some wars in between these events which we cannot predict. But these events will not lead to destruction of nations, whereas milestone events will lead to widespread destruction and defeat or victory of global alliances. For example, Bible prophecy did not specifically predict the Ukraine-Russia or Palestinian-Israel war. These wars were instigated by Germany and Iran to attain intermediate goals before launching the prophesied global wars. In the same way, Germany would like to have Russia and UBI nations fight each other and destroy themselves. But that will not happen. German masqueraders in UBI nations may try to take some actions to provoke a war between Russia and UBI nations, so that the Germans can see our weapons capability as in prosecution of war. It may also lead to many of our troops dying in war. We should not let that happen and deal very harshly with our political and military leaders that try to lead us in that direction against our interests, but in Germany's interest by eliminating them from power. The sequence of end time events is as follows, which I have described in great detail in my free ebook World and Bible Prophecy, and in short form in my e-booklet World a summary of sequence of end time events, are available free on my religion website www.churchofgodmessage.com. So the first event in the sequence of end time events has now the time has now come for the Third World War between the German-led alliance and UBI nations. Germany and China trying to inveigle UBI nations into conflict with some nation is preparation for them attacking our nations or our allies, particularly the Punjabis and Sikhs in India. The Third World War is pictured by the first four seals of Revelation 6 in the Bible. Number 2. This is followed by the defeat of the UBI nations by the German-led alliance within 30 days of battle. Their slavery in the 3.5-year-long Great Tribulation. This is represented by the fifth seal of Revelation 6. Russia is not part of the German-led alliance. That's why UBI nations should not get directly involved in any conflict involving Russia or provoke Russia in any way. We should not have involved ourselves in the Ukraine-Russia war. It was instigated by Germany, and Russia has a right to defend itself from German machinations. We should deal very harshly with any of our histrionic political leaders who lead us in that direction. I hope President Trump will not lead us in that direction, knowing his German ancestry. Number 3. 2.5 years after the defeat of the UBI nations and start of the Great Tribulation, sixth seal of Revelation 6 represents frightening heavenly signs with meteor showers and a great earthquake. Number 4. That is followed by events represented by the fifth seal. These events include almost non-stop global wars till the return of Jesus Christ. First is a war between German-led Europe and an Islamic African alliance in which the European alliance is victorious. During this time, UBI nations are in slavery. Number 5. This is followed by attack of German-led Europe against kings of the East led by Russia. Then the Russian-led kings of the East counterattack with a 200 million man army and devastate German-led Europe. There is no other major war prophesied between Germany and Russia unless Germany provokes Russia in some way. Even then, that war will be short-lived and will not be devastating. Number 6. This is followed by the return of Jesus Christ. Nations then attack Jesus Christ in Jerusalem, but they are destroyed. Jesus Christ then pours out plagues to punish the nations till all nations submit to his rule. Number 7. Only after Jesus Christ has been ruling for some decades that Eastern nations led by Russia and China attack Israel in Jerusalem as prophesied in Ezekiel 38 verse 39. These milestone events involving great regional alliances tell us what the outcome of these events will be. There can be other wars involving individual nations such as the Ukraine, Russia, and Palestinian-Israel wars, which are not specifically prophesied. That is how Germany and German masqueraders might try to involve UBI nations in some conflicts, including with Russia, but it will not lead to any catastrophic war. Our leaders should be wary of any German masquerader political and military leaders in our countries who try to lead us into conflict with great powers and deal with them harshly. As you can see from the sequence of end-time events, no great conflict between Russia and UBI nations is prophesied. In prophecy, Russia is militarily a mighty power in the end time. It will not be devastated by any nation till after the return of Jesus Christ. It will then be defeated by Jesus Christ and not any physical armies of men. Therefore, we should not let any of our leaders entangle our UBI nations in any conflict with Russia. At worst, we should consider Russia as a neutral power in a relationship with us. It is not an economic competitor as are China and Germany. We should treat Russia as an ally and build strong economic ties with it. We should acknowledge and face realities. Germany provoked Russia into war with Ukraine. Russia did not start an unprovoked war with Ukraine as German and masquerader propaganda has made much of the world to believe. Russia was merely defending itself. We had no business supporting Ukraine in this war. Now, Russia has demonstrated its excellent military capabilities with the casualties Ukraine has suffered. We should not be duped by Germans and German masqueraders into fighting Russia to help Germany achieve its short term goals with the ultimate goal of destroying us and taking over our lands. They have been inveigling other nations such as Iran, Pashtuns in Afghanistan, and Indians allied with them to start a war with the United States and its allies, the Punjabis and Sikhs in India, since 2014. With the help of German masqueraders under the guise of NATO, they have been trying to provoke Russia into starting a war with the USA. Let's be vigilant about their machinations and deal with the German masquerader leaders harshly if they lead us down that path by removing them from power. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos, watch on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also follow me on my X channel, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos. My channel's X handle is x@TrueNewsSaini. Past videos are available on my YouTube and Facebook channels of the same name, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini.